Hey there, my fellow author. I'm Sarah Elizabeth Sawyer, an old soul kind of writer living my dream as a full-time author and authorpreneur. But I didn't start out living a confident, creative lifestyle. I struggled with the fears and the mental and emotional barriers that so often plague writers at all stages of their author career. But the truth is that with the right knowledge, tools, and training, you can overcome those barriers. I'm here to teach you how I've developed a lifestyle that's allowed me to publish 19 books and counting. Each week, as you tune into the Confident Fiction Author podcast, you'll get clarity on the steps you need to take to advance your writing career. Whether it's developing your ideal writing routine, tackling new skills like dictating your fiction, or overcoming the obstacles life throws your way, this podcast will help you live a more confident, creative lifestyle. Let's get started. Hey there, my fellow confident fiction author, and welcome to this week's episode. I am your host, Sarah Elizabeth Sawyer, and today we are going to talk about how clarity is confidence. So let me ask you, do you feel overwhelmed when thinking about your future as an author? We've got 2025 right around the corner, and a lot of us are already looking ahead toward our goals for the new year and what we want to achieve as authors, what we want the end of 2025 to look like. Or you may be like I've been for the past couple of years and wondering, should you set goals? And you kind of have a general sense that you should, but you're not sure what those goals should be. You're wondering how you're going to achieve them. And so there may be just this sense of overwhelm that's holding you back. And I know that feeling. I've been there many times with setting goals as an author. But in this episode, I'm going to talk about one of the best things I did for my author career, and that was to begin focusing on quality of effort over quantity of effort. Now, that only happened because I began reflecting on my future and my past and getting clarity on those so that I could understand more about what I needed to be doing in the present. By doing that, I was able to clarify my goals, de-stress my schedule, and pursue and achieve what really mattered in my author career. And you can totally do this for 2025. There's a great quote that I love from the Double Win podcast that goes, "Clarity is first. Clarity breeds confidence, and confidence breeds courage. You cannot do it absent of clarity. We can't be confident if we aren't clear." So let's talk about getting clarity on the future and the past so that you can become a confident fiction author. Let's get into it. To be honest, the reason a lot of authors are not achieving their goals is they have no goals, and they have no clarity on what they've done in the past and whether or not it worked, which leads to an unfocused present, which is totally stressful, unproductive. You're just spread too thin. And I have been there countless times where I've got my head down so deep into my projects, I don't even know what I'm trying to get to. I don't know where I've been. And I'm just left in this confused, fuzzy state where everything's kind of a blur, which that blurriness just adds to the stress and makes you feel like you're being unproductive and like you have this long to-do list and you really don't even know what you're doing. So what we need is clarity on the past and the future. We're going to start with future because this is something that I think is just so far out there for us sometimes. We set goals and we think we know what we want to achieve, but we're really not clear on what that future is. And you can't know if you're succeeding without knowing what you're trying to do. And it also influences everything that you say yes to and everything you say no to. So you really need to be clear about what this future is that you're working toward. You need to know where you're going and why. What are your hopes and dreams, and what does success look like? We can't achieve success or know that we've reached it if we don't even know what it looks like, if we're not really clear on this is what success looks like for me in my author career. You can ask yourself, who do you want to be? Who do you want to be as a fiction author? What does that life and that lifestyle look like for you, internally and externally? So your definition of success is personal. It's based on the future that you want. And just know it doesn't have to be measured by what others are doing or pursuing or telling you to pursue. A lot of authors will talk about their successful career, which may be making millions of dollars with selling their books. For others, it's getting that email from a reader telling them the impact that their book had on their life. And that's their success. They just wanted to impact lives with their writing. And it's not about the income or the number of books sold. So you get to decide that. You get to decide your definition of success and what that looks like for you. I'll just get personal and share what my definition of success as a fiction author looks like, and that's to make a full-time income with my books while publishing quality stories that impact culture and also preserve my Choctaw history and culture. So that's a part of success for me, and I've achieved that in the novels that I've written and what it's brought about for me as an author on the whole. While I haven't made it to that level of making a full-time income with my fiction books, I have been a full-time writer since 2017. It's been my main source of income. And so I've been successful in that. And I'm so grateful that I have that definition of success so that every day in my present, I know whether or not I'm being successful in what my author career and lifestyle looks like. So give yourself some time, especially over this holiday season when we're enjoying all of the festivities, but there's also that sense of things winding down for the year, and it's a good opportunity, especially between like that week between Christmas and New Year's, where a lot of the activities are wrapped up, but we're not quite through with the holidays yet, and we're not into the new year. Take that week to do some journaling and write out what does your ideal future look like, and be specific with it so that when you achieve it, you know that you've actually done it. And that brings us to planning confidently. If your only definition of success is writing full time, then your goals are very different than if you decide that your definition of success is to enjoy publishing as a hobby or maybe just a side hustle. Know that writing full-time and selling enough books to earn a full-time income may not be what you want to do. That may feel like a rat race and doesn't really line up with the lifestyle that you want to have as a confident fiction author. So you can have the confidence to make that decision. You get to decide what your author life looks like and set your own goals accordingly. And just take ownership of that. Take ownership of your goals and of your vision for yourself as a confident fiction author. So I'm going to talk more about getting clarity on the future, but let's go ahead and talk about the past. Getting clarity on the past. So this is something that I'm personally working through right now in this season of my life. Not only the past in terms of books and achievements, but in my personal life and going back even further before I was a full-time writer and just going into some deeper things. And that's something that you can do or look at doing, but I'm going to keep this more just in that time frame of being an author and when you started your journey as a fiction author. And I just want to encourage you to ask yourself, what have you been doing? What succeeded? What led to those successes? Are those successes repeatable? What failed? What can I learn from this? I want you to get clarity on the past, but I also want you to think of it in terms of reframing the past. So I've been doing study on how our past are not fixed. Like we get to ascribe the meanings to our past, and we tend to, especially if there's trauma or just bad things, which we all have that in our past, we tend to just look at those events through that negative lens. And so reframing is taking those things and finding the good in them, finding the lessons, and working to reframe your past so that it's not a ball and chain on you. It's actually really liberating. And I'm going to talk about liberating truths in an upcoming episode. But just for now, know that you can have those liberating truths in your past as well. So by going in and mining for the gold of the lessons of the good, honestly, that was there despite the trauma, or the good that it led to, and what it did to help shape and develop you as a person and as an author. I know for myself in my author career, I've had a lot of disappointing experiences. I've had events where I'll go and speak and very few people or no people come, and I can be really tempted to view that in a negative light and view it as a failure. But instead, I always reflect on those events and I think about lessons learned. How could I have promoted it differently? Should I have said no to that event? Did I have a gut feeling before I was even going into it and I should have just said no to it? And so that can be a lesson learned, and reframing it into a positive of, wow, look what I learned, and that's going to help me in making future decisions. And it's also something that you can reach back and grab whenever you're trying to make a present decision. And instead of those negative feelings coming up of an empty room at your author event, it's instead helping you think about and ask wise questions of whether or not you should say yes to the invitation that just landed in your inbox. You can ask questions like, how will this event be promoted? What's the expected audience size? And so rather than this ball and chain negative experience of facing an empty room, you are now empowered to make decisions in the present and in the future that will move your author career forward, move you forward toward that success that is in your future. So getting clarity on the past, reframing it into the positives and to the lessons learned is an incredibly powerful tool that will help you in the present and in the future. Getting clarity on the past also can and does include tracking data. So for a lot of us authors, we're just throwing spaghetti at the wall, even spending money on advertising and ads and promos without stopping to consider what the results are, either what you'd hoped for in terms of results or what the actual results were of those actions and investments that you took. So what I find helpful for this is right after a campaign, dig into the numbers and get a really good sense on whether or not that was successful. And that can be determined in a whole host of ways. I've had a couple of BookBub campaigns where I did the freebie giveaway. If you're not familiar with BookBub, it's used by a lot of indie authors, but a lot of traditional publishers are using it as a platform now, and they're basically the largest platform of readers that where you can pay for a BookBub featured deal slot, and they will send it out to hundreds of thousands, potentially millions of readers interested in your genre. And your book does need to be for free or at a heavy discount, and it's not easy to get those featured deals. You can't just give them money and they will give you those deals. You have to go through a vetting process, and they only select about 20% of the submissions, I think is the last time I checked that. So I have been very blessed to get a couple of featured BookBub deals in the past, and the first one performed better than the second one. And I know that because I assessed the numbers. I dug into how many downloads I had, how long that period lasted. Did I hit the top in my category of Amazon free books? And I did. Actually, I hit the top of Amazon free books overall that day, which was just extraordinary to experience that. So all of that was a part of my data, and it was really important for me to track those different metrics, and also how many book sales did it result in as readers went on to buy the second book, third book, fourth book in the series. And so I was able to see, did I make my money back on my BookBub featured deal? Because those featured deals are not cheap. Did I make my money back? Did I get reviews? Did I attract the kind of readers to my email list that I wanted? So getting clarity on the past campaigns that you've done, the past efforts that you've put in is really important. And that kind of touches on like going and speaking at a library or a museum or something. And instead of just saying yes to every opportunity, if you have that clarity on what the results were from it, you're able to make informed decisions in the present and in the future for your success. And so practical assessment is important. Paying attention to the open rates on your newsletter, doing link tracking, looking at engagement, assessing if you're actually converting from the things that you're spending your time and your money on. And I also encourage you, don't get too in the weeds with data. We are authors. We're not mathematicians. Typically, we like words better than we like numbers. So just know you don't have to track every little percentage and try to compare and analyze and put it on a spreadsheet and figure everything out. I don't want this to be an overwhelming thing. Keep it simple. Look at the high level numbers, dig a little deeper into the data when you can, and if it will help you in making your decisions, but don't get too in the weeds with it. You just want to know basically what was the result, and is this the result I wanted? And if it is, you can look at how can you repeat that action to continue getting the result, or decide if you want to modify the action to get a better result, or if you want to stop that action entirely and eliminate it from your budget, from your author life, and do something else entirely. So another example of this is, say you're an espionage writer and you do a multi-author giveaway that attracts a lot of romance writers and readers. Maybe the author who's heading it up does do thrillers, but or did write one thriller, but they're primarily a romance writer, so that's what their audience largely is. And so maybe you gain some new followers, say with like an author swap too, but most of them are romance readers. So that was a result. You did get new subscribers to your email list, but you need to ask yourself, is this the result that grows you toward that future that you clarified and identified? And so this is where it brings it, where it's less to do with data and math and more to do with clarity on your future. So if you're really clear that you want to write espionage thrillers, then you know those are the types of readers you need to target. And if you're clear on that, it will lead you to make the decisions that align with your future goals. We're going to wrap up clarity on the past with talking about one that's become more and more important to me over the years, and that's the intrinsic assessment. So what things do I actually enjoy versus which tasks or opportunities drained me or just felt like burdens? Which are easy to repeat versus those that are expensive in time, money, and emotional labor, and may have gotten me good results, but it wasn't worth the burden and the stress that it took to achieve those. And so going back to having a speaking opportunity, say at several libraries in your area, and you're having some book signings with friends, and maybe you're collaborating and doing some of these events, and you may see results from this. You may have a lot of people attend, and you added 10, 15, 20 people to your email list with having a little sign-up sheet on your table, and you sold some books. And so it was successful. You came away with some cash and with some email subscribers, but you may have found that it was really time consuming and burdensome to get to those events, to do the setup, to tear down, and just the idea of constantly interacting with people at your table. I really enjoy that for a time, but it does drain a lot of my emotional energy. And when I come home, I have to recover not only physically, but emotionally and mentally from all of those conversations. And I wouldn't trade those conversations and all of my past experiences of going to events and having the signings and all. But if you find yourself dreading it, then really take stock of if you want to say yes to those kinds of events in the future, even if they are moving you forward toward your goals as an author. You can find other ways of moving the needle, of getting you to where you want to go without it being things that are stressful and require huge amounts of effort on your part. And that's why in 2019, I made the decision to dramatically cut down on events that required me to pack up boxes of books and load them onto my dolly, tablecloths and signage, and just all the tiny little things that I needed, like the cash for giving change and a credit card processor, packing that all into my little business suitcase. and making sure I had all of those pieces, pens for signing books. It was just a lot of little things that I needed to haul out of here, make sure I kept up with while I was gone, and then bring back, and then I would have to process, inventory, and put it all back away. And it was honestly just wearing me out, physically and mentally and emotionally. And it wasn't even putting me on the trajectory for where I wanted to go in the future. Now, I will say, in getting clarity on that past for me, I do not regret doing all of those events and meeting all of the people, visiting with readers. That was a season. And once I got clarity on that past of how well it went and all of the successes that I had and the lessons that I learned, I was able to confidently make that decision in my present for my future to just let those things go, knowing that I had gotten out of it what I could, and it was time for a new season in my life. So be sure, if you're doing things that you don't actually enjoy, get clarity on that. Get clarity on the past things that you've done so that you can make decisions for your present and for your future that make your author life more effortless and enjoyable. So we've talked about clarity on the future and getting clarity on the past. Let's talk about clarity in the present. We are inundated with constant opportunities and decisions, but everything we say yes to changes everything we're able to commit to in the future. So here's what I want you to look at. 1, do you often take inventory of your present opportunities, or is your default just to say yes to everything and create a long to-do list? Especially as you're starting to move your author career forward, you're going to get opportunities in your inbox. You're going to have people ask if you'd like to write a guest blog post for their blog, or if you would want to be on their podcast or come speak at their library. And you may want to say yes to those things, especially if you're just getting going and you want those experiences, they sound fun. And so those may be things that you're saying yes to. But just know everything that you say yes to, you are saying no to something else. And something that I see a lot of authors do is saying yes to all of those opportunities, and what they end up saying no to is their writing itself. And so take a hard look at your present and get clarity on the things that you're saying yes to, and be honest about what you're saying no to. And if you're saying yes to going to a library event and speaking or writing a guest blog post for someone, and saying no to working on your current work in progress, is that really the choice you want to make? And it's so easy to make that subconsciously or unconsciously. You don't even realize that that's the decision that you're making until you get months or even years into your career and realize you haven't written the books that you wanted to write. And that brings us to the second point of, again, why it's so important to have clarity on your future. Because that gives you the confidence you need to say yes and no, which creates present clarity and a more streamlined life and more in line with that lifestyle you're going for as a confident fiction author. There's a quote by Dan Sullivan that goes something like, if you want to make your present better, you need to make your future bigger. And I add clearer. So if you have a big future out there in mind, and we talked about getting clarity on the future, make that bigger. Because what that does is it brings it down to your present of what you can say yes to and what you can say no to. And that does make your present better, because you are being able to experience a shorter to-do list, and you're getting to do the things that you actually want to do and that are actually moving you toward that big future. So once you have made your future bigger and made it clearer, it's going to make your present better and clearer as well. And the third thing on having a clarity on the present does go to having clarity on the past, just like having it on the future, giving you that ability to recognize what works in your author career and improve what doesn't or eliminate it. And those things build confidence toward your achievement and progress and what you're doing that day. And this is going to look different for everyone. Just like with the future, you get to decide what your goals are, what you're aiming toward with your author career, and not what other people are doing. Your past is going to be different. And you get to take those things and make decisions for the present. All right, so wrapping this all up here, I want to ask you, what decisions are you making this week? They may be goals for 2025, looking at where you want to be at the end of the year in December of 2025, or they may be just deciding whether you're going to keep writing until December 31st, or if you're going to take a Christmas break and take some time off to do some journaling, do some reflecting, do some reframing, and that may be the decision that you're making. And so how can you make those decisions more confidently? Start by taking inventory of your past and your future, like we've talked about here. Get clarity on those so that you can make confident decisions today. Now, before you go, I want to let you know about a special mini course that I've just created. It launches on December 16th, and I'm super excited about it. This is a tool that can help you in getting that clarity on your past, present, and your future, and that is morning pages. If you're not familiar with morning pages, it's been around a while, and millions of people around the world do this each day to help them in getting that clarity on where they're at in the day, in their projects. Lots of writers use it. I have done it for years, and I could go on and on about the benefits that I've experienced in my personal life, in my writing life, in my business, the revelations that have come out of it, the opportunities just to sweep all the corners of my brain clean and clear so that I can focus on where I'm at in the present. I've used this to get clarity on the past, to reframe the past in terms of even doing self-therapy through morning pages. And it's just such a powerful habit to have in your life, especially as a creative. So with my morning pages mini course, I walk you through what morning pages are, what the benefits are, and then how to do them. Because I think often we hear about a really cool habit or technique and people are just like, well, just go do it. But there's these how steps that once you know those, it makes it so much easier for you to implement. And that's why I created this course, to give you the how steps of doing morning pages. I show you exactly how I do my morning pages by handwriting and dictation. I also talk about whether or not you can type your morning pages, how long it takes, how to build that habit into your routine, and all that great stuff. So that's in the mini course, and it is at a really special pre-launch price right now of $17. It'll be regularly priced $49 after the launch. So you'll want to go get enrolled in that while it's at this pre-launch price of $17 before the morning of December 16th. So before 10 a.m. Central Standard Time on Monday, December 16th. Be sure that you enroll in my Morning Pages mini course. And if you enroll by that deadline, you will also get a 6-week email sequence with guidance through the course and in developing your Morning Pages habit. And I'm calling that inbox coaching. So you will get those 6 emails over a 6-week period. You can go get enrolled at the pre-launch price and get your inbox coaching by December 16th, 2024 over at fictioncourses.com/morning pages. I'll see you inside that course. All right, my friend, that is it for this week. I hope that you go confidently forward into your goal setting for 2025. I am cheering you on. I will see you next week for another episode of The Confident Fiction Author. Take care.